Hello there, YouTube. My name is Moonstar, and I am the writer and the editor and voiceover person for the Stallion of Fate. And we are continuing that story. We are continuing the Stallion of Fate legacy. Chapter 2, Goldwing. That night, he again dreamt of Luna. It was almost as though Luna herself was content on staying beside him, even if it was just in his dreams. He would also have dreams of what could happen when Luna's 1,000-year sentence was complete. He then heard her telling him to wake up. He was a bit confused, and woke up to some pony banging on his door. "Hey, wake up! Training starts at 0500! Hey you, wake up! Training starts at 0500! I want you in your armor, ready and raring to go in 15 minutes!" Moonstar got up and strapped his usual heavy weights to his legs and rushed over to his armor. He took a little while, actually a long while. The instructor entered his room. The instructor was a battle-worn Pegasus that had a brown coat with a yellow mane. His wings were also yellow. He had a kunai for his mark. "What's taking you so long? Are you a slug? Move it! Come on, if we were going to war right now, you'd be the last one to hit the field. You're not a unicorn, you're a unislug. Move it! Move it!" Eventually, Moonstar got the armor on, while the instructor barked at him the whole time. "Oh dear, Princess Celestia, what have you gotten me into?" the instructor said aloud. Moonstar apologized for his slowness. The instructor wasn't going to cut him any slack. "Don't be sorry, be faster! Let's go!" The instructor noticed the black box on the floor. "If that box has a sword in it, bring that with you as well." Moonstar questioned the motion. "Your armor has a sword holster in it, doesn't it? It's not just for decoration. The sword is a part of the armor as well." Moonstar opened the black box and placed the sword in the holster. "Not bad. It certainly does complement your armor. That is to be expected if the princess had it designed for you. Now come on then, you slow pony." Moonstar followed the instructor, trying to remain respectful even though the instructor was grinding at him. They walked past the throne room and went to the eating hall. "Alright, Moonstar, have yourself something to eat and meet me at the top of the cliff in the appointed time I gave you. Understood?" "Yes, sir," Moonstar replied, as if he was in the army for a long time. No. He went up to a self-serve mix of fruits and such, as well as a few carrots, along with a bit of water. He looked around a bit to find a place to sit down. Darts waved him over to his table, where he and a couple of more armored ponies sat. One was a yellow Pegasus with a fiery mane. The other was a unicorn who shared the same similar features as Darts: gray coat and salt and pepper mane. "Ah, good to see you got your armor on without any problems. I hope Instructor Goldwing didn't rattle you too much. He's hard on all the new recruits. Then again, as you notice, he's been in quite a few battles in his day, so he has to be. He's sharp as a nail, but once you gain his respect, he becomes more tolerant. And tolerable to you as well." Moonstar nodded and continued to eat, still trying to wake up. Moonstar never was a morning pony. "Oh, I have not introduced my friends yet. This is Pepperfire, though she prefers to be called Pepper," motioning to the Pegasus. "And this is my brother, Hawthorne Hooves. These two are also cadets as of today." Moonstar greeted them and introduced himself. They knew exactly who he was. He was the one that fought next to Princess Celestia against Nightmare Moon. They also knew how he'd taken Celestia's horn for her. They questioned his logic of doing something so rash. His response was the same as the one he gave to Celestia. "Because she's my friend, and I would do it again in a heartbeat if I had to." They couldn't quite understand his motion for it though they didn't question it any further. Moonstar finished the last of his breakfast, and the three of them headed up to the cliff top. Celestia had not raised the sun yet. Not even Celestia is up this early. Pepper's Fire said out loud. They made their way up to the cliff top, where Instructor Goldwing was waiting, along with a few other cadets. They also had the same light blue armor, while Goldwing had a dark purple color. In the center of his chest armor was both the crescent moon and a star. The moon was nothing like the one Moonstar had, but it was still impressive. Attention! Everyone lined up at Goldwing's command, including Moonstar, wanting to show his professionalism. Welcome, cadets, to the Night Brigade. We are the Lunar Republic. We are tasked with guarding the kingdom during the night. As such, I will work my best to mold you into what you are meant to be. Whether or not you are meant to become Royal Night Guards determines how committed you are. Let it be stated now that I do not pick favorites. That said, just because one of us here happens to be Princess Celestia's new fashion model does not mean I will cut you any slack. The last line he said, looking at Moonstar, who was looking back, paying attention. Is that clear, Moonstar? Moonstar nodded and gave a salute. Alright now, I want unicorns, earth ponies, and pegasi to split into their own groups. Every pony did as instructed and separated into their pertaining classifications. Now then, Goldwing continued, I am going to pair each of you into a 3-team unit. I will pair each. In each team, I want 1 Pegasus, 1 Earth Pony, and 1 Unicorn to team up. There were a total of 18 cadets, including Moonstar. Moonstar was paired up with Darch's brother Hawthorne, as well as Pepper. Well, isn't this interesting, Pepper said. The 3 of us who just sat down and had breakfast together, now teammates. Oh yeah, she said with enthusiasm. Goldwing walked up to them. Now, since there are an odd number of unicorns this time around, I will ask that one of you refrain from using your magic during the training exercise, should one of you have more than one. Moonstar volunteered to be the one not to use magic, since he hadn't got the hang of his own unicorn magic yet anyhow. He could take the time to learn from Hawthorne. Goldwing nodded in agreement and carried on his way. So from this day onward, the ones whom you've been teamed with are your brothers and sisters. They are your source of strength, and you are theirs. You will protect one another with your lives. The point of this is to build teamwork, and learning to work with some pony or someone different from you. There may come a time where your ally is a griffin. In that moment, you must show the same respect that you would your fellow ponies. Now, let the training continue. They all trained in exercises which included strength, combat, and tactical training. As Moonstar and his group continued to work, Goldwing passed Moonstar and his teammates. Goldwing noticed one of the weights protruding through his armor. And what, pray tell, is this? He said, reaching in to pull on it. No, don't do that, Moonstar said, trying to stop Goldwing. Though it was too late, he pulled the weight out of the armor, and as soon as it was free of Moonstar, Goldwing couldn't hold on to it. It fell to the ground and made a small boom as it crashed into the ground, which caused a small tremor to spread throughout the cliffside, leaving a big hole where the weights landed. Moonstar looked up to the instructor, who had a dense look on his face. Moonstar kind of squeaked a little bit. Every pony also had a dumbfounded look on their face, except for Pepper, who was amazed. Now that is badass, she said. Goldwing still wore a very dense look on his face. The force of the weights hitting the ground echoed through every direction. Princess Celestia and a few royal Pegasi soared over the cliffs and landed. What happened? I heard an explosion, she said as she saw a large hole in front of Moonstar. Moonstar, what did you do? She said with a bit of a tone. I'm terribly sorry if we woke you up, Princess. Moonstar here decided it would be a good idea to wear these confoundedly heavy weights to for some odd reason, Goldwing said to Celestia. Moonstar explained that he wore them all the time, to control his speed. Celestia took a close look at the weights on the ground. She felt a strong energy surrounding them. This weight, and from what I gather, has been combined with alicorn magic. It should not even be possible for it even to pick them up, let alone walk with them. How did you get them like this? She examined them further and realized Luna had enchanted them with her own magic. It would make them heavier than normal. Though he explained why they were so heavy, it was not fully comprehended to the rest of them. Would you mind demonstrating this speed of yours? Celestia asked. Moonstar nodded. Do you want me to take the other 3 weights off first? Moonstar asked. Celestia nodded. Although place them on the ground gently, I do not wish to see a rock slide befall in my kingdom. Moonstar obliged and placed the rest of the weights on the ground. He motioned to where he would go. He released a slow, deep breath. Celestia nor Goldwing or any of the cadets took their eyes off him. Within an instant, he went from standing in front of them to standing on top of a big hill that was 600 yards away. The sound it made when he did sounded as if the wind itself was being sliced apart. They couldn't believe their eyes. Celestia and Goldwing were both impressed. Well, Moonstar, that certainly was something to see. It's not very often I get to see some pony move that fast, Celestia said. The other cadets, including the ones he was teamed up with, were speechless, except for Pepper. Dude, that was freaking amazing! I've never seen any pony move that fast before, she said in awe. Why would you keep something like that hidden? Celestia inquired farther. This is just something I'm accustomed to wearing. It also helps me not move so fast when it's not needed. So oftentimes I forget they're here. Putting them on is actually second nature to me. Celestia nodded. Well, I suppose that answers my curiosity for now. If there is nothing further, then I will return to bed, Celestia said as she flew back to the palace. Well, that was certainly embarrassing, Goldwing said. Now, if we're quite done, back to what we were doing, he said. Moonstar nodded, with a grin on his face, as Goldwing gave him a bit of a stare. Pepper walked up to Moonstar with a big grin on her face. You have to teach me how to move that fast someday. Moonstar smiled back at her. I suppose I could do so one of these days, he replied. She let out an excited squeak. I said back to what we were doing, Goldwing shouted at them. They continued from the time the sun rise until it set again. All right, you are all dismissed. You may all sleep in tomorrow. Your training will continue at night. And that is the end of Chapter 2, Goldwing. Stay tuned for Chapter 3, The Rift.